pushing the button. Okay.
Do you just jump right into it?
Yes. Let's. Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedicta, and I'm feeling focused.
And I'm Benedict. Today is October 14th. This is episode number 230, and I am recovering.
What are you recovering from?
I kind of want to say MicroConf, but I guess I properly recovered from MicroConf already. And I was a little bit worried that I got sick at MicroConf again, because I think last year I got COVID at MicroConf or right before MicroConf. I'm suspecting the airport in Frankfurt when we were leaving for Dubrovnik last year. And I had a little bit of a stuffy nose at MicroConf, so I was like, maybe I got sick again, but I tested myself, so everything was fine. But then the week after, I got sick. Wasn't COVID. But yeah, didn't feel well. Had a little bit of a headache. No, runny nose and all of it. Itchy throat.
Could still be post-conference vibes. Like
maybe, yeah.
How long has it been? It's like, is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, by now
or
it's
is it
2
like
weeks.
a week and a half?
No, it's exactly
Anyway.
2 weeks.
Exactly 2 weeks, yeah, because I think like that first week just like was a wash for us.
yeah, same. I got home on Wednesday, and then luckily Friday was a public holiday around here, so I did some work on Thursday, just like catching up on things, reading emails, answering support tickets, stuff like that. But then enjoyed a very long weekend. And went to a concert on Sunday. So maybe I got it at the concert. I don't know. Anyways, wasn't feeling too well last week, and especially at the end of the weekend. Then over the weekend, we visited my sister and celebrated my niece's 5th birthday. So that was a lot of fun while feeling a little bit under the weather. But by now, I think.
And shout out to your sister. Happy birthday, as I like to tell the mothers, because I now know she listens to the show.
Yeah, from time to time she does. That's true. Yeah.
We figured while talking at MicroConf that if you want to know what's going on in our lives, you gotta listen to the podcast. Listen to our podcast. And I'm trying to tell Ola this, like, he needs to listen to the podcast because then he'll get like an kind of get my formulated thoughts about what I'm doing, what we're doing.
And what the plans are and stuff like that.
And what the plans are, but he's not convinced. So maybe I'll just need to have AI
write a summary
of what I've planned that he should do or we should do.
Yeah.
It's from these recordings.
The problem with these recordings, like for me, is like when we are recording, I'm so used to doing this and just talking about this stuff, like just talking to you, that I sometimes, as you said, like forget to tell other people like that this is the plan or whatever. Like remember a couple of years ago when someone on our team was like, it would have been nice if you had told us as a company that this thing happened, but you didn't. You just heard it 2 weeks after on the podcast. So yeah, I should probably remember to tell people stuff that I do more in person, I guess. But anyways,
yeah,
this is like
yeah. So I picked that up, and you picked up at MicroConf that Ola and I gotten engaged, which I did forget to talk about on the podcast because I was gonna tell my family first. And now I don't really remember if I have told them. So if any of my family is listening to the show, then they now know that Ola and I are engaged.
Woohoo! Congratulations!
Woo!
I mean, we toasted to it a little bit at MicroConf because by then it was already like 2 weeks old news, something like that, right?
I think maybe like 3 weeks.
Oh, even worse.
I don't remember. I'm not that good about dates, but we were joking that that was our engagement trip because Ola and I both went to MicroConf, and we also spent like a full 4 days before the conference in Istanbul. So we had like a week on our own in Istanbul, or like child free.
Child free, and not on your own, at least at the end of it.
At the end of it, no. But we could both stay out late. We could both just like, do whatever we wanted. Like we didn't have to talk about like, well, if we go to conferences, we've gone to quite a few tech conferences with Lillian, but it always like, if I'm going to go to speakers dinner, like he'll have to watch her. And then if he wants to hang out with somebody in the bar afterwards, like I'll hang out. And then she, sometimes she comes along, but like one of us has to kind of keep an eye out, for her needs, which is totally valid and how it should be when you are a parent. But every once in a while, it's nice to just have a week where you're just like all in like grown-up mode and celebrating that we are now gonna marry next summer. Yes.
Do you have a date yet?
We have very little plans so far. But the Pirate Princess is very excited, and she might become the officiant, like not the official officiant, but we want to just do it at home. That's as far as we've gotten. Like we want to do it at home, and she really wanted to do like a speech. And yeah, that's the second thing we've decided. We want to do it at home, and we don't want speeches, but she really wanted to do a speech. And then I was like, well, maybe you can like stand up there and be like the person that marries us. And she was like, yes. That's exactly what I want to do.
That is cute. That's so cute. I like it.
Yeah. So, because a lot of people here in Norway that don't do church weddings, they just go to the courthouse and kind of do the legal part, and then kind of have a ceremony wherever they want. That is where friends and family are watching. So
nice. Yeah.
Don't kill me, family, if you haven't heard this.
You're all invited. Or maybe not all of you, but some of you.
We'll see.
Oh, I love it.
No, but it is hard to keep track of. And, circling back to MicroConf, there was a lot of talk about AI. And I don't know if you saw this, but at least one person was wearing those things, like a necklace that is an AI recorder, or like an audio recorder that stores every conversation that you have with them. Yes. And, and then can remind you about what you spoke to people about. So we that's what I need. Like, what person did I tell this to, and who have I forgotten to tell this to? But I've noticed that I felt a little weird. When I realized that's what he had around his neck, I was like, because I could see it was blinking, and I'm like, "Are you recording this?" And he was like, "Oh, I forgot to turn it off," because he would have like business conversations with people, and then seemed to me he would say like, "Can I record this?" and then like just press the little thing on his kind of necklace or whatever we want to call this, and then record a conversation so that he can follow up later. But he had forgotten to like unpress it, or deactivate it. And I don't trust these deactivation buttons
Well, we are all carrying microphones with us all day, so
yeah, that is true.
But yeah, that's a little. I mean, good thing that you can turn it off and it's actively blinking, so it's indicating that it's recording. So that's good. So otherwise, that feels like a violation of trust to me if like someone's secretly recording every conversation I have with them. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Did you meet the person who was wearing the glasses that would live transcribe the conversations?
Yes, and those didn't make any light. I didn't see any light or anything on them. I just thought they were regular glasses. So same thing, right? Whereas all of this conversation, streamed to get the live translation.
Yeah, that was wild in a different way, I guess. Like, yeah. Anyways, we're living in the future.
We are living in the future, and there are some movies that show us how this can
Potentially go.
Potentially go. But that's a conversation for another time. But I also talked to your friend Christian from Covetto. They do like recruiting software or SaaS, and I think he spoke to you too about creating an MCP server. And I made one. Yeah, I was like, I made one, and it's not that hard, and blah blah blah. And then he was like thinking about it, and then he came back to me one of the other days, and he was like, yeah, talk to Benedict about it, and maybe we can just generate it from our API. And then when I got home, I think he'd been home like 24 hours, I got a message. He's like, I did it.
Yeah.
I just did it.
The funny thing about this, like, Christian was talking to me, but all I was doing was relaying your experience in different words back to him again. So it's not like I had anything contributed to this. It was maybe just like rephrasing what you told me. So that was fun.
And I didn't really know like if his customer needs it or not, but he was also talking to Ola at one of the dinners about it before he realized that I made an MCP server. But they were like talking about it, and I was like, well, if you can just do it, what will your competitors like? Do any of your competitors have one? Ola asked him, and he was like, no. And Ola was like, well, maybe you should make one then, and just experiment, because either they'll look at it and like spend resources on it, and if it's not a success, you can just like quietly phase it out, because he is a technical founder, right? He can do these experiments without deploying like 5 developers to like do the work. And he was like, yeah. Well, now I guess I spoiled the whole thing, but hopefully his competitors are not listening to this.
Or maybe it's just useful, like in its own.
Or maybe it's useful.
Yeah. Cool. Any other takeaways from MicroConf you had?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do any of my side sasses. I'm going to focus, which we've had this conversation before. So talking to people, kind of realizing like how far we are with Outseta, and like spend more focused time on the work that I do with Outseta. And then also, do the work for We. I guess like it's not like I haven't been doing it, but I think just focusing on those two and like table everything else for 6 months at least is good. Would be good for everyone, just for like comedy and inspiration, or not inspiration, like if you focus on something, you get like better ideas for those things, or that's what people say at least.
Yeah, context switching is expensive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think So it was funny. I think I wrote down there was like de-inspired, like not inspired to create my own SaaS. I was de-inspired because I think I said that after I was. I think maybe that was after I was at the MicroConf where I got like this free ticket, diversity ticket, that listening to the talks and talking to people, like it's super hard. Like there are a lot of people who are not I guess they're struggling, but they're like, yeah, it's not like you go there and they're like, yes, like make a SaaS. It's like, it's more like, this is hard. Are you sure you want to do it? Do you have the resources to do it? Do you have the distribution? Do you have like all of those things that you need to have in place and think about before you do it? It's not like just like, most people are. I don't think they regret it because it's been worth it. Because if you can afford a MicroConf ticket, like it's been worth it. But I think there's a lot of people along the way where it ended up not being worth it. Anyway, it got me thinking.
It is a lot of work. Like it's not, yeah. It is a lot of work. And it sometimes doesn't work out, I guess. And I think even the verdict on these others is still out there if it's going to work out in the long run. Even though it has been 8 years, we celebrated our founder agreement anniversary, I think, on Friday. So yeah, eight long years.
And for the Taylor Swift fans out there, it's kind of like the latest song on the latest album, which is called The Life of a Showgirl, where she talks about watching this artist on stage and coming up to her after the show, giving her flowers and saying, like, I want to do what you do. And the more experienced artists being like, no, you don't. But then she was like, yes, I do. And obviously she is, the biggest in the world. But in the song, like, talking about it hasn't been easy. It hasn't just been like, you really, really, really do want to live that life. And with all of it, like, you can't just take the fun and the money. That there you have to do all of the other things.
There's more to this, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
I just wanted to leave that in there since it's very current.
Yep. I have no idea about Taylor Swift at all. But anyways, I appreciate the story.
You should listen to the song before the next episode.
I probably should, yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, what did you take out of MicroConf? Any ideas for user list?
Well, I guess we took away a little bit from Mark Thomas's talk about emailing people more. We kind of knew that this was the thing these days, but Jane is this week and next week, I think, working on redoing our own email marketing and email automations a little bit to keep that in mind. We got inspired to just like do more mini launches. So we're going to launch all of those tiny little things that we have behind feature flags and just ship them more or less how they are right now, maybe polish a little bit here and there, but get a lot of stuff just out there and tell people about it and just email them more. I also from Letitia of Decent Simple, I got a tip to look into our Google Analytics and Google Postmaster, Google Webmaster tools actually a little bit more to figure out how we got affected from AI summaries. And I just earlier spent a couple hours just like digging into the data, and it's wild. Like our Google search impressions went way up over the last couple of months, while the clicks were going way down. And but it's in September, the impressions also dropped significantly by almost half. So there's stuff happening, and I have no idea what to make of it and what to do about it. But it's at least interesting to get a better pulse on or a better idea on why I feel like things have been moving slower recently. I guess this is a huge part of this that I hadn't really realized, because while we do look at those metrics month over month, I had not looked at an entire year. So I didn't really notice that the changes were that significant until now. So I should probably make a habit of like looking at larger scales a little bit more. But yeah,
I feel like that was like part of that was kind of like part of the like I felt like there was a lot of chatter about AI, like I mentioned MCP server, but it was also that, like, a lot of people in the MicroConf community has relied on SEO and have been really, really good at SEO. And now that is just like a rug pull. It's just like, yeah. Good riddance.
I don't think it's that, but like the rules have changed, right? Or like the landscape has changed. Because I think fundamentally it's still about getting discovered by machines, right? Just that the machines are different now, and stuff is working differently, and you need to figure out how to get back on top again, or like or in there at all. I think getting on top is maybe not even the biggest challenge. The bigger challenge is probably just getting mentioned at all. So Yeah, let's see. There's
But it felt like
new
the
opportunities out
advice.
there as well, I guess.
But the advice, who had the AI getting excited by AI talk?
Jesse Schoberg.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was you who said this after his talk. Like, all of his advice was talk more like a human. We've been like
Yes.
writing this SEO language for so long that we think that is like a natural way of organizing our articles, and but I felt like a lot of the things that he was saying, like, answer the question first, not like in paragraph 10 or 100 at the bottom of the page, and things like that would actually benefit the human reader as well. That was the advice to be picked up by these agents, or like AI, whatever you want to call it. Agent optimization, AEO, no.
AEO.
Different.
I don't know. I think this is like a good proxy to tell like how new and uncharted everything is, that we cannot even agree on the right term for this, right? Like I've seen AEO, like agent engine optimization, and answer engine, but there's also GEO for like generative engine I think, like this basically sums it up perfectly. We don't even know what to call the thing.
And we don't really know how long, but that's the same thing with SEO. We don't know how long it's going to work. So you kind of have to have a plan that is not just to get into the AI or the SEO. Like the articles, you need to have a larger strategy, so that the articles, whatever you write or output, is more
when
than
we
just
talked about this
excited
briefly
for the next month.
When we talked about this briefly with Jane, just before this recording, Jane was like, I was telling what I found and like showing the numbers, and she was like, well, good thing I'm not looking at those on a day-to-day basis, because that would be immensely frustrating and depressing. And the second thought was, maybe we should just not do any of it and figure out something else. Like, I don't know, just completely different strategy and ignore all of the SEO, AEO, GEO, whatever, and just like, I don't know,
all of the O's.
Do door-to-door sales or something like that.
I mean, this is sounding very close to enterprise sales.
Yeah. She's not wrong. Let's put it that way. So yeah, like that's some of the takeaways. And I guess the main takeaway for me from MicroConf is always like just meeting a lot of nice people that get what we are doing and are on the same wavelength, and it was so nice to meet. And I know I'm repeating myself every year, but it was so nice to meet old friends again that I haven't seen in a while. Some of them haven't been to recent MicroConfs, and just showing up again and just like talking to them, seeing them again, hugging them, sharing a nice dinner with them. That's always nice. And I also enjoyed meeting a couple new people. I made a friend in Iceland, for example, and just met people that I hadn't known before, had interesting conversations with them, learned about interesting things, even outside of our bubble of software. I talked to an artist who's been like working with researchers and going on a sailing trip to do art based on other people's research and stuff like it's super interesting. So I always enjoyed that part. And overall, I think we had a good time. I mean, we had a nice dinner together with some friends, and yeah, overall, going there for the people at this point.
Yeah. But also a good city. But I don't think I would have seen much if we'd just been there for MicroConf.
I didn't see much of it, so I guess you definitely have a better pulse on the city than I have. Well, it was definitely an interesting city. It was. I feel like in a lot of ways, it's not a type of city I've been to much before, like, or at all. Like, there's a lot of new things that I hadn't seen before.
It is so large. Like, it's we were talking to a taxi driver, and we were like, yeah, like how many people in in all of Norway? It's about 8 million people. And he just laughed. Like he was just like, blah! Because he said like, I think we're 25 million in the city. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that is so. I think it's like on a scale that is totally different from what I'm used to, and also because it's on 2 continents, and there's so many like bridges which kind of divides it, but then it's also united, and it's super. It's and like the rich history where it's hard to. It's like before I went there, people would say that like, oh, it's got such a long history. It's got and it's very diverse, and you understand that in theory, but I felt like when we went to one of those guided, like with Microconf, there was like a little guided tour, and the guide is just like casually mentioning things that has been like super important for Europe, that that happened here, like that, and
Yeah, same. I had the same
things,
experience.
yeah. So I think I really want to go back. I want to bring Lillian at some point and just like have a look at some of these buildings that have been standing for as long as they have. But then I also thought like going to Microconf, I really, really enjoyed just hanging out with so many different Europeans. There were obviously some people who were not from Europe there as well, but sitting kind of at the end of Europe or up at the top or to the side of, I don't know what we want to say with Norway. We've always had, as a nation, lots of relations with other countries back in the day because of boats. Like, since we have a long coast, like we did travel and meet a lot of other people, like historically. Sometimes stole them with us back home, but hanging
Sometimes
out
invaded
with
them.
sometimes, but just hanging out with people from so many different European countries, all interested in the same topics and kind of like working in the same community while being from all over. Like, I really needed that right now. And yeah, it just gave me like a trust. I don't know. It just gave me a boost that we can all be different, but also the same. Just to be not so, I guess not very like profound, but I really felt that. And that was different from going to a lot of the conferences that I've gone to in not a lot, but that was different from Microconf in the US when I went there, and some of the larger tech conferences that I've been to in the US, because it's been, mostly Americans, which is also fine. But these are the people closer to home. And it was really nice to hang out.
Yeah, agreed. It's still one of my favorite conferences, and not because of the content at the talks. Like, it's not bad, but like, what makes this conference is the people, and the community, and just the general vibe. Because I think of Ruby Ruby conferences at kind of open and like inclusive most of the times, at least. But I'm still like, even though the community is open as well and like friendly, I don't get to have the same type of conversations at tech conferences. It, for some reason, just does not work this way. And I'm wondering if it's a little bit because of a lot of people in a Microconf community just like being on their own, or like with very like small teams, and like everyone's kind of lonely most of the times. And so this is like the place to not be lonely. Whereas with like the tech conferences, usually like people are part of a team or work for someone. As like less, it's not like a freelancer type conference where like everyone's sort of on their own but in the same sea or something like that. It's more like everyone's on their everyone is on their own cruise ship, something like that, so you don't get to mingle as much. But yeah, I don't know, just my overall feeling.
I also think that people that choose to do that do that, like start their own company, or work on such a small team, or in those kinds of businesses. You have to be interested in more than just the tech, because there's so
Yes.
many. You can't be like, oh, my only responsibility is the tech. And I think that
Yeah.
might be like a big difference from a tech conference. I mean, there are well-rounded developers, obviously, but when they come together at a tech conference, I do think we often forget about those other things that we do, because it becomes like very tech focused, and you kind of forget about like showing up with all of those other facets. But when you're going to a conference like this, where you have to wear many hats and you might be really bad at some of them, it just becomes like more honest, and you end up sharing more of your story than if you are at the tech conference, where like you feel like everybody's really good at the tech, and you kind of want to, you don't want to, admit that you don't know your stuff, or you think that everybody like else might think it's weird if you're into improv, or if you have other things that you want to talk about. But here it's like you have to be interested in multiple things, otherwise you wouldn't sign up to be like the marketer, the developer, the strategizer, the HR department. You wouldn't try to walk down that path if you weren't interested in more than the tech. So that might be a little bit why we don't have time for status updates, Benedict.
We don't. Like, who says we can't? Like, I mean, do you want to wrap it up? I'm fine either way.
We can go a little longer. I have to go to IKEA today, but other than that,
how long? When does IKEA close in Norway?
Oh, it doesn't close, I think 9 or 10 at night.
Yeah.
But I have a pickup thing, and also
Okay.
I have a daughter who's waiting for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest update was MicroConf anyways. The other thing, two things that I want to mention as sort of my update since is, one, we built a Postdoc integration. Postdoc seems to be the new cool kid on the block when it comes to analytics, or everything at this point. It's a wild product. Like, on one hand, kudos to whoever is managing that and building that. It literally does everything you could possibly be thinking about. But then again, I had to build a Postdoc. So basically, circling back a little bit, Postdoc integration for Userlist means allowing people who send data to Postdoc to also forward it to Userlist from there. They have a CDP platform thingy in there, so you can track events and user data and stuff like that, and then forward it to different tools. And we wanted Userlist to be one of them because it keeps coming up in conversation with leads and stuff like that. And the way to do this is, Postdoc is open source, so you clone the repository and add it to the code. This was probably the worst developer experience I've ever had. It took me probably a week of on and off work to get the thing even started. And,
so there's no plugin directory where you just upload your code. You have to merge it into their code base.
No, it is literally part of the code base. And to test it or to run it or whatever, you have to set up the local development environment and boot the thing in there. There is they have a code spaces thingy set up, so you don't necessarily have to install everything on your machine in specific. You can do the code spaces thing and get like the Docker container where you get everything in there. And there's a little bit of documentation on their website on how to do this, but I just want to say it's outdated and it does only do half of the stuff. And it is, yeah. Like in my books, like if I do a code spaces thing, then the codes, like when you click the running code space button, it should just configure everything. Because why not? Like it's all configurable and scriptable. So why not configure it to a state where you can actually start using it? Wasn't the case with them. Had to install a bunch of stuff in the already set up code space, follow some of the tutorial. Like there's a tutorial for like how to use it in code space, and then there's a tutorial for like how to use it on your own machine. I had to basically follow, like set it up in code space and then follow the on your own machine guide to get everything working. And the other thing that I don't tell you is that when you start it and try to access it, it will just take forever. Like stuff looks like it's up and running, but it probably still takes another minute or so before it's actually up and running. And that makes it just a horrible experience because you're looking at the thing and you get a white screen. And you're like, is it working? Is it broken? Will something happen? Eventually, I figured out there's a difference of accessing it using localhost and port as URL or 127.0.0.1 and the port, because with the IP address it doesn't work, with the localhost it does. I don't know why, even though the docs say something else. And then you have to wait forever until everything compiles in the browser because it's using Vite. And eventually it shows up and then you log in and then it's there and you start using it and suddenly it stops. And you have no idea why. And for the longest time, the only thing I could figure out how to make it work again was shut down the entire code space, boot it from scratch, start everything from scratch, wait those 10 minutes for it to boot again, and then suddenly you're in there already, you're in there again, and it could continue working until it stops again. At some point, I figured out it was something with like you made changes to the Python backend, and then the Python server would reload, and sometimes it wouldn't properly reload. So I eventually figured out I only have to restart one particular thing. But it was a mess, and then it's like, I mean, user list is like one monolithic backend, and you boot that, and then the API is there, and then you boot the front end server, and those are the two components plus the database. But Posthoc has like, I want to say at least 20 different services that have to be running at the same time. And it's wild. And then you have no idea. You look at the thing and you have no idea what service does what. I figured eventually that there's a plugin server that apparently is the thing that sends data to the destinations, where like user lists and stuff like that. And that might report that it's up, but actually it's not, because there's an error message hidden in the log somewhere where it tells you that it didn't properly boot and stuff like that. I don't know. I keep ranting, but like, long story short, this was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. To this day, I have to admit that I have not been able to send a tracking request to Posthoc, have it process it internally, and then send it out to user list. Wasn't able to get it work. There's a test mode in Posthoc itself, so I was able to test the outgoing stuff with that. But why my events that I manually track in Posthoc don't actually get forwarded to anything, haven't figured it out. No idea. Eventually, I was able to write some tests and submit a pull request. And this might be on me, or like this might be on Codespaces. But by the point I was like, okay, this is ready, I can commit this. It took me 2 hours to do the effing commit. Like, I was like, git commit, message, enter. And then there's some checks and stuff like that. And then it was like, signing failed. And I'm like, what do you mean signing failed? Do it again. Okay, still doesn't work. Then look at some logs. User does not have push permissions to the repository. Like, Okay, sure. Okay, I cannot push to the official one,
So you have to
obviously.
fork
So
it.
I forked it and then rewired it to point to my fork. Try it again. User does not have permissions. It. I think in the end, I think it was because my CodeSpace instance was not logged into my GitHub account, which is weird because it was using my Git credentials. It was using my name and everything. And I created it on GitHub and it's connected to my account. But for some reason, I wasn't authenticated, apparently. So once I had figured
Software is
that one out,
hard.
I was at least able to do the commit. And now there's a pull request. And I hope it gets reviewed eventually. But who knows? It's already on page 3 or 4 of open PRs on Postdoc because there's so much stuff going on that I have just very little confidence that it will get reviewed and merged at some point. But
Because I've heard so much good stuff about Postdoc, like being a user of Postdoc, not an integration maker, but just using it in your app. Like I keep hearing it, like just pop in Postdoc, pop in Postdoc. Like people have been loving it for like years. I mean, they just got their newest founding round, but they've been around for at least 2 years now, I think. I've been in one community, I mean, this guy is just like, he's using it for everything and he loves it. So I think like having a website and adding it to your website or adding it to your app to track things seems like that is super smooth. And I think that's where they focus their DX
maybe
money on, but
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I think they are a unicorn by now with the latest funding round. So
yes,
insane valuation.
Ship fast, break things. Isn't that
ship fast and break things? Like yes,
we
and
need,
I think the other thing is, yes, it's open source, and yes, you can in theory host it yourself, but I don't think they have any incentive of making this easy.
But I feel like that's a trend. Like Supabase is also open source, but who's gonna run Supabase on their own servers? Like I don't think I've never heard anybody do that. Like if they end up not wanting to use the Supabase service, they migrate off of Supabase.
Yeah,
because it's based on Postgres. They do their own Postgres and then they migrate off of Supabase.
Yeah.
But it's this thing that is being kind of stamped on products where I feel like at this point it's kind of mislabeled. Where you say, oh, it's open source. Like you could say Useless is open source. Clone my repository.
And I'd say like it would be easy to set up because I don't hate yak shaving. Like I could probably whatever. Yeah. Let's not get down there.
But I can feel because coming from a front end world where we used a lot of services for everything all the time, and the issues we've had with this is happening. Like tiny little we have almost no customer when it comes to SaaS scale, and we were using Supabase just to send out one-time OTPs. What's it called? The passcodes. One-time passcodes. One passwords. And I think me and AI did that in Laravel in like, I don't know. I don't think I did anything. I think I told Jean-Claude to do it and it was working. And it even with Herd that I have installed on my machine that kind of runs my don't quote me on anything Laravel because I am still a noob, and that's also why I love the AI because I don't see the issues of how it does it, perhaps, but at least we've gotten I got really far. And with the Herd, it intercepts like the email, so I just get the email there with the OTP token. While testing this, when you're using Supabase, you have to have a separate, a completely separate Supabase instance where you turn off OTPs, or I don't even know how, like, we had no testing on that for we, but having this all in a tiny little Laravel app on my machine, it's so easy. Like things are just so like refreshingly simple.
Yep.
And so tried and tested that I actually think, some of, a lot of the AI things, I look through everything. It looks super organized, super structured. All of the controllers look the same way. It's like, these are proven patterns. And it's just been a joy, actually, to work with. Fully sold.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice. Not having to use a million services is actually a good thing.
Because at this point with We, so the focus I've had since MicroConf on We, which kind of what's the plan for this fall, is that I've been kind of working up a little bit of, I wouldn't say overtime, but like I've done a lot of outside of work so that I could have some weeks where I could focus more on We. This is something I'm going to try and do moving forward. I still, have to do support on both, but trying to kind of do more of the focused real work, the working like in the business work, or on the business. Anyway, more like have more focus time. And now I lost my conversation. Yes. So we are replacing the logged in pages, or my We. And it's like we're almost done. It didn't take that much time. And getting all of that out of the next application. And then it's the actual website, because at this point, we can't do any changes to the content structure, because if we want to do changes to the content structure, we have to upgrade our Sanity project to the next version, which will have breaking changes. And I don't have time for those breaking changes. And like all of those things, like, and we might get there with Laravel too. Like there's packages and but it just seems a little bit more stable, and it's all in your own monolith, where like you have more control of it. Because I am just sitting here waiting until Sanity's like, we're shutting off this old version. It's gonna happen, and we won't have any say in that. And just like removing the services. So we're completely off of Supabase now. And we're soon to have replaced the whole logged in pages, or my We, and even added new functionality around payments, because that is, as everybody who runs a SaaS knows, it's a pain when people stop paying. And usually it's because of, their card has expired, and, it's usually not bad faith. And as we mentioned before, with a SaaS, you just turn off their access. With the bike, they still have the bike. So we need it to be much easier for our operations teams to have our customers have that in their face. Like if they're not that they log that much in, but we can then we have SMSs that we send to them where it's like you're late, and then we just want them to have one central place to log in, and they can see all of their unpaid invoices, and a place to go into Stripe billing portal. And we had that before, but then you had to log in via the Stripe login, which is like give them your email address. But today, now I create a session because you're already logged in, and you can head on over to Stripe, and all of this like easy stuff. But just so much easier now that I don't have to make sure 4 services are running before I can see the logged in pages. And I can only, log in on into my own account. Otherwise I would be sending out OTP keys to random people. But now I can actually log in as one of our customers to see how this will look for them, because they're not getting they're not getting SMSs and emails while I'm in development mode.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah, without having to go and everything.
Cool to see that you're coming around to being a backend developer.
I'm gonna start bugging you about the whole should it be in the model or the controller or the view questions.
Yeah, bring it on. I'm open to discuss that any day. While I'm we're like one last thing, while we're at like bring it on and discussing, the last thing I wanted to mention is I started a challenge with Jane. So we have a friendly competition, and the task is who does the most user list related videos until the end of the year. There's a minimum of 10 each, but the winner is the one who makes the most videos. And I would love to hear some ideas, like either from you or from listeners. The form, like there's no rules about the format or the length or whatever. It just needs to be user list related and video. I have some ideas, thinking of doing a video on how our API works and how that informs how our filters and filtering UI works. But I'm open to ideas. So if you have any good ideas, let me know. And the easier and quicker they are, the better. Because it can be 10 short videos, I guess. Doesn't have to be 10-minute long videos. So yeah, if you have any ideas, let me know.
I feel like this should be the opening of our next episode, next recording. So we'll clip this onto LinkedIn where you're asking for ideas, and maybe you'll get some, and then that will be your first video. And then I'll think about
I have to do a video this week because I think it's only 10 days to the end, 10 weeks to the end of the year by now, or even less. So I need to get started on this. I cannot wait until the next episode.
Now I got a panic attack.
No, I mean, it is, isn't it?
I don't want to talk about
42.
It. La,
yeah.
la, 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 la.
Yeah, it's 10 weeks. This is like, yeah.
La, la, la.
la, la, la. Yeah. See you around the interwebs.
See you around the interwebs. Bye-bye.
Bye.